I can't give any more of myself to this painting, to this subject, to this idea, and to this person. I'm done. So what that means is I'm gonna jot down some thoughts, some ideas about how I feel about the painting, what I think I could have done better, what I think needs some work, but also things I'm happy with, things I like looking at. Alright, so I'm gonna get started. Okay. Oh, beautiful. Look at the light on that. Can't see the bottom very well, but that's very nice. Nice. Okay, this probably won't take too long. I'm gonna put this chair over here and see if you can see me. You'll definitely be able to see the whole chair, but I don't know if you'll be able to see my head. I'll start with some negatives. Something I was noticing a lot was the pinky ring here. I don't like it. It's not very clear what it is. I think with like a little bit of thought you can figure it out, but it's not as intuitive as I would like it to be. I think that the water texture here is really like lacking, and the reason for that is because the gesso and the priming wasn't smooth enough. The oil ground that I used, I don't think I used as many coats as I would have liked to get a really smooth texture on the glazing, and I think that comes through in the painting here. You can still see like the grain of the canvas a little bit. That's not that bad, and I've definitely had paintings that were worse, but you know, up here where there's just like a lot of glazed texture, you can see more texturing, and that's not preferred, right? We have some inconsistent shadows, and what I meant by that was this and this and this are all very different, like textures, very different vibes. That's just like not perfect. That's not really what I wanted down there. Again, like, is this a huge problem? No, probably not. Most people aren't going to notice that. Most people aren't going to care. But I know that I could do it better. That if I had a little bit more planning and a little bit more, I don't know. Also, like, I ran out of, like, energy to do this piece. Like, oh my god, it was so much work and so much time and so much emotional energy to, like, get this thing done that I am just not, you know, I'm not willing to put any more into this. This is all I have to give to this painting. But yeah, like, this could definitely be better. Lower back disconnect. Okay, so here I'm saying that the lower back and the upper back look a little bit different. Like, they're not as clearly going together as I would have liked. I think this line right here is a little bit strong. It's a little bit too loud. I would love if it were smoother. And I did put a lot of time into making it so, but I didn't, you know, I guess not enough. I think I could definitely have done better there. But you know, in contrast to that, I really like this one. I think that one came out really, really nicely. Just like that little bit of shadow that really like tells you that there's something there, but doesn't shout at you. Um, this was funny. I was just like, I just wrote down greenery. Don't I'm just not super excited about this stuff. I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. I think it's done. But like, if I took this to a crit and someone was like, I think it looks stupid, I would be like, okay, I know where you're coming from. I could probably do better. And I will someday on other things. You know. That being said, this is like really good for me. Like, I've never done something that was like this before, and I'm really excited to have been able to exercise that new muscle and get used to it. So yeah, the rocks look too smooth. That's true of the rocks up here. They don't look like structures, and over here it's just kind of like a blob of white. Like, you can tell it's rocks. I think you can figure it out. Over here it's a little bit better, but they're just like, the surfaces are too smooth, and that's partially because they're so small and I couldn't really get in with finer detail work, but it's partially because I was glazing them, and I was like blending them a lot more than I normally would, whereas like my rocks in other paintings have been much more jagged, and I really like that look. Then again, I can't do that and have it be glossy and glazed texture in that way. I also was talking about the rocks down here, where I think they just kind of feel like, I like it, I like the texture, I'm happy I was able to create it in this way, but I think that if you told me that the rocks were like a little bit out of place, they were not out of place. If you looked at me and told me that you didn't like them, that you didn't like that texture, I would understand. I would totally understand. So there's that. The bracelet, I don't love it. That's not really the kind of thing that I think people would bring up in critique. I think they'd be like, yeah, it's fine, they would just glaze past it, because it's not a big part of the painting, but it's something that I think could have been done better. That's okay. Like, you can kind of tell what it is, you can tell it's a chain of some sort, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. The hair and water. So right around here, you get like, and I'll do some close-ups of this, right around here, the hair is blending into the water in a weird way, where like parts of the tips of it are green, and there was not much I could do about that, because I really wanted to make sure that the water coloring, the darkness, got into all the crevices, and that was more important to me than keeping the clarity of the hair on its own thing. So parts of the hair turned out a little bit greener than they probably would have been if that had not been the case. But it's okay. Like, if someone pointed that out, I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of nitpicking. So, is what it is. Oh, clarity on the top here. I think that's a fair critique. I think that this was a really hard texture for me to recreate. Very like kind of like scrunchy texture. Like, I was having trouble with that. That was not something that was super easy for me. That being said, I'm very proud of what I did to get it to where it is now. But I think if someone were upset about that and thought it didn't look very good, I would listen to them, and I would hope to make clothing textures that look better in the future. Skirt folds. Okay, so over here, I have like, it's just not perfect. Like, you can see brush strokes there more than you can see them in other places, and they might be distracting. I personally don't mind them. That's the thing, is like, this is like something that I feel like I would get critiqued for, but it's not something that I necessarily see as a bad thing. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with how they look. The white glazes. This is the one thing that's like, this is a real critique, right? So like, over here, when I glaze white over the, on top of a layer of the water, so that I could get the reflection of the rocks, that is not necessarily good. And I don't think it looks great. Like, this area here, I don't think I used almost any white to get that to be a bright highlight. And if I had had the forethought and the presence of mind to do that with other places, such that they remained as blank and as open to, like, you don't need to add color to make it white, and it looks kind of blotchy and a little bit gross in some of those areas. I think that's true down here too, of like you can see a lot of the movement that I did down there to make those there. Again, this is kind of a stylistic choice, especially down here, like that's just kind of like a, oh, you could have done it differently, and you can think about it doing it differently next time. But up here, I actually am not the biggest fan of how that all came out. I really like this one over here, and that one I did glaze with white, and so that's, you know, there's situations where it works, but down here I didn't at all, and that came out really, really, really nicely. So there's that. Okay, that's all of it, and then I'm talking positives, things I like. I'm really happy with how this reflection came out of this plant. I think that's really close to the original picture, and I'm really happy with it. I think that these reflections here of this tree came out really nicely. I even think this came out really nice, which is like kind of a reflection of this tree. I'm really happy with it. I think it all kind of worked out. I think this nice detailing back and forth here is really cool. That came out really well. I think the face shape I'm really happy with. I think she looks really like human and also looks like the person I was painting. I think that all came out super, super nice, which was really, really great. Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Skirt shadow as a positive. So this shadow right here is my favorite haunting depth, deep dark coloring that I've done in a really, really, really long time, maybe ever. But just like that line right there, so happy with it. Because it's got like darkness on the edges and just a little bit of light in the middle, and like that's how shadows look. That's how they work. It's super cool. I'm super stoked about that. Sorry, I just had to move the sheet that I've been using to cover the windows. Anyway, so that was great. The skirt shadow. The top of the hair, I'm actually so happy with how this area came out. I think the crown of the head looks really, really good. I know you saw me go back in with the highlights, and that came out really, really nicely. A lot of interesting coloring and a lot of brightness without feeling like washed out like other sections where I did white glazing. I think it's really cool. I really like this strand of hair in this section on that side of the face. I think that came out really, really nicely. It really is believable and very real. The water depth. Okay, so this is something I'm actually really happy with. I think that this feels closer and this feels further away, and it gets drawn back, and I think that's true of this side too. I think you really feel that this is a deep and long body of water that you're looking over. I think it's a believable sensation, even if when you go into the fine details, you're not super, like the texture isn't perfectly right. I think it is creating the essence and the feeling of the things that I wanted it to. And that's awesome. I think this darkness back here is very successful. I think it really shows like the density of a forest and like a real sense that like you're looking into something that's shaded by whatever the trees around it. I'm really excited about that. And it's got like some texture in there, like there's little trees and things and bushes and branches that are in there but not at the forefront. And if you look for them, you'll find them. So this section I'm super, super happy with. I think the facial expression is really, really nice. I think she looks very calm and very focused, but also very relaxed, very like interested in what she's doing. Maybe I'll sit down here. Yeah, and I'm really proud of myself for these shirt folds in here. I think some of that's really nice. I think some of the transparency in that section is really nice. I'm really proud of how well that came out. And then I really am so excited about these highlights. This stuff is really, really nice, and it blends in so well with all the really well textured darkness throughout the whole thing, and like this section is beautiful. I'm so happy with that moment right there. Really, really excited about it. So this piece is something I would call really successful, just from a technical standpoint. That's all we've discussed at this point. I think the technique that I've been able to show relative mastery of in this one example is really cool. I'm really happy with what I've been able to create. Yeah. Alright, let's talk about some composition and stuff, formal elements. So in terms of like rule of thirds, we've got interesting placements actually, like about here, and about here. But in terms of like where your eye is actually going to be drawn in terms of the rule of thirds, you're probably going to be taken to this side of the head, which I kind of like, because that sets you up to be part of this curve, which I think is really nice. It brings you all the way around and back up, which is a really nice way to take the eye. I think there's some really cool shapes that are made in this painting. I guess I kind of just mentioned that, but this body circle here brings your eye around and around in this loop, and I really like it because there's a lot of really wonderful moments throughout that section. I think if, you know, at some point you go up, down, and then you go through, down the arm, this is like a terminal corner of the painting where you kind of look around and you're like experiencing that section for a little while, which I really, really like. Yeah, but I think overall, through the whole painting, one of the main curves that we're looking at starts around here, follows this branch, goes down through the crown, and down through the body, back up, and then down out through the bottom of the skirt here. And I think that is a really, really nice curve and really cool to like, it like bunches up a little bit and it gets your eye following that really interesting pathway that like I'm really happy about. I think it's really cool. It's really engaging. It keeps you interested in the painting because there's a lot to see along that pathway. Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice. I will say, I think this section doesn't necessarily feel empty, but it feels separate from the rest of the painting. Like if your eyes are up here, you're looking at like a landscape, pretty much. But anywhere else, you'll get drawn into the figure in a really nice way. Yeah, my favorite moments are probably around here. I like that area. I like the crown of the head. And I do like these highlights. I think this whole water section is really nice. I think the hand came out really nicely, and I think this section is absolutely beautiful. So yeah. Yeah, that's my critique of the painting. Honestly, this is like, I'm really happy with this. This is one of the best things I've ever made, and I'm excited to move forward with the things I've learned from it. Also, if you have critiques of this painting, this is when I would welcome them. I would love to hear what you think of it, what you don't like about it, what you do like about it, what you think I could have done better, and what you want to see me do in the future with things like this. Because I know it's done. You know, like I'm not changing anything. I think while I'm doing a painting, I don't really like being critiqued. I don't like someone telling me how to move forward with something. I find it much more useful when people will give me advice about how to move forward in future pieces. And I don't really care what you say about a painting after it's done. You can be as mean as you like. But yeah, I just want to, I want to learn as much as I can. If there's something that you noticed that I didn't, please let me know. I'll have, there were probably some close-ups throughout this video that you might have seen, and if there were not, then there will be some more after this. But yeah, like, I want to learn about what you think could be better here. If there was something I didn't say or something that I did say that you want to make sure I listen to, that'd be great. It'd be great. Thank you so much. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is a finished piece. I think I might be selling prints of it. If people are interested, please let me know. Because I'm really happy with it. I think it's a good representation of what I can do at this point, and a really nice look into what I'll be able to do in the future. So thank you so much for watching. This is my first real finished piece that I've been posting, and so that's really cool. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely day, and clean your brushes. And if you guys want me to critique some of your own work, let me know. I would love to see what other people are making. I think that a healthy and honest critique is one of the foundations of a successful continued practice. So yeah, let me know. Let me know. Alright, I gotta take some close-ups, and I'll see you guys on the next video, next painting. We'll see what happens.